Okay, so I wanted to go ahead and make a better version over of the video overviewing my Guitar Hero project that I made. I made a basic little Unity Guitar Hero game for the Oculus Rift using a basic Guitar Hero controller. This was the project that I did for the programming projects class my junior year of high school, and it was a fun little project that I got to work on. It was one of the first times that I got to use Unity, and it was pretty cool. So what I've done here is I've gone ahead and recorded myself just playing it, and I'm going to first go ahead just watch through this to see what the game itself is like, and talk about what's happening like in terms of what the game's like. So there you got my Oculus Rift using the standard consumer version 1. And there's a basic Guitar Hero controller that's a PlayStation 2 controller, just hooks up to a dongle which plugs into USB into the computer. So here's a basic little environment. Here's just a simple menu that you control with it. Got a little credits page because I wanted to fill up the menu with some stuff. There's also a settings button. It doesn't actually do anything for now because there aren't any settings that I could think of. Here are a bunch of the songs. They're just songs from Guitar Hero 1 and 2. The way I actually got songs, to go on a little bit of a tangent, is I found this website that has a bunch of like song charts on it, because I don't want to go ahead and take every song and plot it out myself. So what I did was I found it, because there is that online, and that's its own whole process of how I got it to work with my game. But that's something that I'll get into after we look at the video. But that's why these songs in particular are chosen. And it was kind of hard to get it into the game, which is why there's so little. You can do a bunch of different difficulties. Difficulties aren't any harder to program, obviously, because the website that I have has the easy, medium, and hard and expert charts, and all they are just different charts. So you can choose the difficulties that you want. I think I chose expert on everything just because that's what I do, but let's look at the actual gameplay. You can see straight ahead the basic... just highway of notes coming down. You have the 5 different frets that'll light up when you press buttons. You got a basic how you're doing thing that will move along based on how you're doing. So watch all those little things. And you can see I'm pressing the buttons. Yeah, just to show that they work. That fun stuff. Got a score over on the left with it says 0 right now. And so I think I just start off playing some songs. You can see that. I'm not great, but the score is going up eventually. Yeah, so you get up there eventually there. The balancing is definitely a bit on the questionable side. It's really easy to get up and then stay up, and it's kind of harder to get that. But that's not really the point of this. The point was more of a technical demo kind of thing. You can see my score went up whenever I got points. And here I'm testing the pausing, just showing out the pause mechanic. It basically just pauses everything. In a very standard basic way. It doesn't give you any menu basically, it just changes normally there's the title of the song up over here, but now it just says press red, green to close, red to quit, basic stuff. So you can see it stops it, and you can restart it, unpause it, and then it'll just start up back like normal. And so yeah, it's just a very basic kind of Guitar Hero game. I think I'm going to show that you can exit here, and I believe I show off every song in this video. So I can just go ahead and go back in the menu, everything works perfectly fine like it's from the beginning. And there you go. Here's another song. You can't fail yet. That's one thing that I didn't program in. I don't believe you can't just get all the way to the bottom of the red and then stop scoring points. But I decided that failing wasn't something that was really necessary to finish in this kind of demo. Here I'm going to show that you do, in fact, lose points. You see, I actually physically move my hands away to show it. But yeah, and then you can get your score back up, that kind of basic stuff. So, a very simple demo overall. I don't think there's many more features I showed here. This is pretty much the extent of it. But it does work fully in VR. It's using the Unity 3D engine. So everything was just easy, pretty, just drag and drop, kind of easy quality to get working. If I set it up to work with Steam VR, it should work for other headsets, but as this is just kind of a small demo, sort of for myself, I decided that wasn't really a necessity. But there's no complicated motion controls to work with, which is something I'm messing with now, but not for this. You just use the basic Guitar Hero controller. You just need a view. Basically, just acts as a different way to look around with the camera. So I'm just going to let this kind of go. Maybe turn down the volume a tiny bit, even though it's already pretty quiet. And kind of go over what's happening, how I made this work. So yeah, so here's the website, and you get these kind of things. Now these kind of things aren't the best format per se. You know, it's a picture. You know, pictures aren't usually easy to decipher. However, it is a .svg, which means that this was actually made via code essentially, and you can open up a .svg and see that code rather than see this kind of geometric kind of thing. I'm gonna stop this because I started going around a little bit. But so what I did was I actually wrote code, just some simple Python scripts, sort of simple, you know, kind of a mess, but some Python scripts to go ahead and go through those pictures, those Guitar Hero charts that I got off the website, and decode them basically into some stuff. So I have this, you know, some basic a few things to do there, and what it outputs is a more simple format, because the way that the SVG will be structured is not for it to be nice to work with in a code sense, but for it to look nice like it does in that. But if we go ahead and look, I made it so it spits out this sort of sensical kind of text format, which makes it really easy to work with, relatively speaking. And you can see it's just what time you're at in terms of bars, and then what note you want to press. So 1 being green, 2 being red, etc., all the way to 5 being orange. And then once you do that, you just need to go ahead and get it into the game itself. So I have a bunch of Unity code written in C# that goes ahead and turns all of those text files into actual code. Then there's the problem of getting all that stuff to actually line up with songs. I had to write a few basic scripts, kind of getting everything together. I think this entire script just renames it so that the songs and the file names are the same. That's just an example of all the like tiny little things you need to do, because essentially I'm mishmashing all of this random stuff together. I'm using Unity, I'm using the Oculus stuff, I'm using the SVG files from this random website, and then I'm converting those into these random text files, and I have to kind of mishmash them all together. And that was the chunk of the project. You know, you look at this, and while it's cool and does everything basically that it wants to do, I'm just gonna have this play for a bit. It's pretty simple and bare bones, and there's only a few songs. The reason why there's only a few songs is because while I did get it to be a bit more automated, in terms of I could just grab these songs from the website, I could just chart them out through a program and do that. I didn't need to do anything by hand, really. In that sense, there was still a little bit every time of something I would need to change. Maybe the note chart wasn't quite right from the website because it's just these random people making these things. Maybe stuff doesn't line up correctly. So there's a lot of that little messing around. One of the main things was lining up the audio with it, because while obviously the note charts are going to be set up to line with audio, it's not necessarily going to be any audio that's in a guaranteed format, if that makes sense. So you have to get your audio files just of the actual songs playing, and then you have to line it up with starting with how the code writes it. So maybe 3.786 seconds into the audio file is where the actual first notes will start playing for the game. And so then you need to actually hard code that in, because there's no good way, at least that I know of, to go ahead and automatically detect where that first note, determined arbitrarily by the people who wrote the Guitar Hero scripts, will be in the random song file that you happen to have. So that's why there's only 4 songs, is because I didn't want to drive myself crazy doing all that, and I didn't think it was necessary from a technical sense or a cool sense to go ahead and work through all that. So that's pretty much it. There's obviously the detail. We can go over the details of the actual rest of the code of the project, like sending down the notes on the board, how you get that timing right, and how it correlates specifically code-wise. But as a holistic overview of the project, that essentially covers it. I gave a even somehow more rambly and also less informative videos on this for my programming projects class, but this is hopefully a better look at it as both from a coding perspective and from a gameplay perspective. So thank you for watching, and hopefully I will work on more projects in the future.